We begin tonight with a social media invitation from Georgia's governor to the nation's Republicans.
161 days until the presidential election, and that means that national conventions are rapidly approaching. Charlotte is set to host the GOP in August, the city's organizing committee frequently tweeting its intention to proceed. But President Trump has threatened to pull the convention from North Carolina if the state's pandemic response won't allow full attendance. Now Governor Kemp is throwing Georgia's hat into the proverbial ring. Joe Hankey has more.
Governor Brian Kemp tweeted out the welcome mat today to President Donald Trump. Kemp writing, with world-class facilities, restaurants, hotels, and workforce, Georgia would be honored to safely host the Republican National Convention. Charlotte was named as the 2020 host of the Republican Convention in July of 2018, giving North Carolina 2 years to prepare. As a board member of the Georgia World Congress Center and a Republican strategist, Brian Robinson is excited by the possibility.
Now that said, I don't see them making a change at this juncture. That it is very late in the game for that. But if they did, Atlanta would be an obvious transition.
Obvious, Robinson says, because Georgia is no stranger to the world's biggest events. Hotel rooms and convention space are open, and the convention could rally Georgia's Republican base.
We're seeing very tight races in 2 U.S. Senate races here in Georgia, both of which are crucial to Republicans maintaining the majority in the U.S. Senate in 2021.
I get the enthusiasm, but that enthusiasm has to be matched with a viable plan before it can go forward.
Andra Gillespie, political science associate professor at Emory University, says the location does not matter. Republicans first need to address the issue of putting thousands of people into an arena, and if that will be realistic come August.
The large states, including Georgia, actually send more delegates and are actually allowed to physically be in a room with each other according to the CDC's guidelines at this point.
Joe, you and I have both covered political conventions. It's like a Super Bowl of politics. It's not just one night you see on TV with tens of thousands of people there.
That's right, Cheryl. I reported from the 2012 Republican National Convention down in Tampa Bay. You saw thousands of people on TV at that convention inside of the arena. But outside of the arena, there were filled conference rooms and convention halls all across the city. Each state, their state party, along with the delegates, they hold private meetings. They have meetings throughout the week. There are large dinners, panel discussions, and then, of course, outside of the arena, protests and marches. Those often pop up. So we're talking thousands of people that never even step foot inside of the arena at every convention.
All right, Joe, thanks a lot.
Mayor Bottoms also weighing in on the possible Republican National Convention here, saying the city of Atlanta is following a phased, data-driven approach to reopening, and that plan does not contemplate hosting a large gathering even in August. She goes on to point out several long-standing city-supported and sponsored events have already been canceled in order to comply with CDC guidelines. Now, we want to hear from you. Are you in favor of Atlanta hosting the RNC in August? You can cast your vote right now on our live poll on the 11 Alive app or the 11alive.com/vote. Right now, most of you say no, nope, no sir. Georgia has never hosted a Republican National Convention. The first one dates back to 1856 in Philadelphia. At that convention, Abraham Lincoln lost a bid to become the party's choice for vice president. But 4 years later in Chicago, Mr. Lincoln was selected as the party's choice for president, and he won the debate with Stephen Douglas and the election. The only time Atlanta's ever hosted the Democratic National Convention was in 1988 inside the Omni. Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis nominated to challenge then Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush for the White House. But that convention will be remembered for the Reverend Jesse Jackson and his dramatic speech, and also for the speech of young Kennedy, the son of President Kennedy, made his speech back in 1988.